Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to look at the metagame breakdown for Alchemy Best of One. It's been a couple weeks since we've done one of these and folks were asking, so take a look, see where the meta's kind of settled. We had the new set for Edge of Eternities come in, so we'll see where the decks kind of moved in, shaken up. I was doing well with like the Teamer Dragons deck for a while, but it's kind of fallen off. We've had an uptick in like Vivi. I find that matchup a little bit difficult with it. It's popular with that. But we'll take a look and kind of go from here. We're going to get the data from UntapGG, what you see on the screen. Companion tool runs alongside Arena's client. You could track your win rates. You can track your deck collection. You can see other decks. Link is in the video description if you want to set up Untapped. And then I'll paste all these deck lists and timestamp them so you can copy paste to your heart's content. So we also wanted to just mention, we are closing in on 20,000 subs. We are like 950 away. So if you enjoy meta content, it's free to hit that sub button. Helps the channel kind of put out these videos for all the formats, all the events, stuff like that. So we'll jump into it. In terms of like popularity of decks and the Diamond and Mythic rank, Mardu Mobilize is at 13%. The Vivi deck's at 12%. There's two Vivi versions we'll look at. If we kind of drill it down, Vivi, Mobilize, the mono black mid-rangey Cantor deck is at about 8%. The Cantor deck's doing fairly poor. It's like 48% win rate. Kind of stock mono white that's not that great. We have Rabbits at 5, ETB triggers with Simic. That's also kind of coming in there. But looking at Diamond, where we start getting a little bit more normalized in terms of the meta. In terms of games played from September 4th through today, so last 7 days, 4,900 games played. Some of these will be smaller sample sizes, so keep that in mind. For like the win percentages, like I've gone like 20-2 in Alchemy sometimes. It's kind of varied. If you have a good deck, you can kind of beat up on people, but highest win rates is the Birds deck at 88.5%. So this deck here, you're playing Birds. So they did have a slight nerf with the Awestruck Signet. It now doesn't kind of get that proc. When you Mockingbird, you don't get 2 instances of the ability. So it's a little bit slower to get it going, but still very powerful. When flyers come in, this eventually becomes a 4/4 with flying and vigilance. Just very hard to deal with. This version's got some disruptive elements and Spell Pierce and Dazzling Denial. Fewer in terms of overall counter spells. We have Sheltered by Ghost, Valley Quest Caller as a Lord effect. Wingbright Thief, just really strong at it taxes a card in your opponent's hand that when they cast it, you get to draw a card and gain 3 life, plus gives you the information in terms of what's happening. This one's got 2 3-drops, an Empyrean Eagle as another Lord, as well as Jackdaw Savior. This one's a nice one because when another creature dies, you basically get to return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with lower CMC. So replaces things in terms of combat. And then 3 Tree Battalion as collected company for the deck. Mardu Mobilize, this one's at 82%. This one here's got Sheltered by Ghost in it and Seam Rip, so it's a little bit more interaction. I don't love it because they're trimming on the number of 1-drops. I'm still a fan of playing 4 Devotees, 4 Headliners. I'm playing a little bit fewer in terms of lands and playing Burst Lightning as my removal. Sheltered is a little tricky at times because your creatures aren't that big. Like Thunderbond Vanguard can get large, but usually is like a combo turn. So finding your combo, fixing your mana base is quite important in terms of just kind of killing your opponent. But the cards here, Waystone Guidance. I like Waystone Guidestone. 2 mana, your tokens get a power boost when they attack. So your Mobilize tokens, and then whenever you cast the first creature each turn, that creature gets Mobilized too. So if it already has Mobilize, it just gets more instances of Mobilize. Very strong if you curve it into things like Mardu Thunderkite, which then becomes Mobilize 4. You give it haste, so it could strike for 10 damage in 1 attack on turn 3. Then you have Thunderbond Vanguard, which your tokens come more copies of Vanguard, and power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. So it just pumps through huge amounts of damage out of nowhere. Darkstar Banisher, some more interaction. I think this deck should be playing 3 Tree Battalions, just to kind of find your combo pieces as well. I don't think you should be playing the Dalkoven Encampment. It's hard on the mana base for it to come into play untapped, and you want as many untapped lands. I'm playing the Verges just to kind of play on it, but the mana base is usually the hardest thing with this deck. It does kind of hinder you at times without having access to Blood Crypt. Simic ETB triggers. Well, this is a Simic Kona combo. So Kona has access to a bunch of planet lands, so you can tap it and cheat something into play. Most notably, you want to cheat into play Omniscience. So then it lets your subsequent cards basically get cast for free. When you do that, you basically can create a loop where with Extinguisher Battleship, this comes in, destroy target non-creature permanent, then deals 4 damage to each creature. So basically, you have 2 Meringue River Regents and the Extinguisher, you can blow up all your opponent's lands and then just kill them that way there. You have Cunning Azure Scale that helps you kind of dig for cards, flash it in, draws you more, stock up helps you draw more, consult the star charts, and you also have access to Fountain Board Charmer to reduce the cost of your stuff. Weft Waking just refills your hand and cheats more stuff into play. Jill's another way to get the loop going with Meringue River Regents. So we have Izzet Vivi. This is the non-Cori Steel version. So this one here, why is it not showing stats? It is 80% win rate. I don't know why it's deciding to be difficult on me. Let's see if we refresh. Okay, well, it's at 80%. This one here, you're basically built around Vivi. Interesting that there's only 2 Swift Spear Teachings. This is kind of the card you usually want most because it can haste out Vivi, gives prowess. The prowess stacks. So your subsequent spells, just any spell basically adds 3 mana in a way because of or adds 2 mana, 1 for the prowess and then 1 for the Vivi token or trigger. So then it just pumps it through a whole bunch of damage. You can bounce your opponent's stuff, kill them, and then just kind of chain through and ping them to death, so you can almost one-shot them in a way. Cunning Azure Scale in this version is just another way to get some card advantage, kind of dig deeper in the deck. Illuminating Lash is removal that cycles, and then your rest of kind of like the standard package. There's also the Cori Steel version here. This one's at 66%, so a little bit interesting in terms of cards here. It's just 3 VVs, the Swift Spear's Teaching, you have Crash Through that can give Trample, which is relevant. Cori Steel also can give Trample, and then just obviously this one's been nerfed, so it gives you just a 1/1. Doesn't give the power boost, like +1/1, and it doesn't give Trample for the tokens. This one's playing Mental Modulation that can tap into artifact or creature, and then it does require a target, so note that, but you can tap your Cori Steel if needed. And it's just another cycler if you cast another spell. And then Ride Down, another way to kind of haste out Vivi in the deck itself. Selesnya Rabbits. So this is a creature synergy deck. So Rabbits, Bob Patch Recruit, you have Season Warring Guard, Honorary Rabbit, Valley Might Caller gets bigger when your subsequent rabbits come in. Very powerful spell on 1, just because you could easily, curving 1 into 2 more 1-drops. That's a 3 power. Turn 3, you go hop to it. It becomes a 6 power Trampler. On turn 3, very relevant. Phineas kind of distributes counters. Burrow Guard goes wide. Valley Quest Caller helps set your draw. Then you have Warren War Leader that on attack can either anthem your team or create more rabbits. And then you have Buxton that can be convoked out and then cheat things into play. We have Simic Landfall. So this is basically a variation of like the Stompy version. So playing a couple Tifas, some Mossborn Hydras. You also have Wary Zone Guard, which can bring back lands from your graveyard on your second main phase, and then gets bigger each time. You have Genomorph Imago as a way to, with your lands, help you just increase base power. So once you hit 6 lands, it gets +6/6, otherwise 3/3. You have the little Chocobo Hydroponics Architect in here. So when it attacks, a random line in your library perpetually becomes a basic island, in addition to the other types, and when it enters, you draw a card. So you can find like a random land, either one of these fetches, or if it targets one of your basics, you have so many fetches to go find them as well. Ice Till Explorer can rebuy stuff, and then you have Glacial Godmaw on the top end. Probably could forego the Godmaw, it's quite expensive. I would probably just drew up like Mossborn and another Tifa in the deck. So we have Dragons. This was a slightly different version of the deck. I play a little bit more interaction in my version, but this one here, core of the deck, two cards you really want to aggressively maul into or have in your opener, just makes the deck so much better, is Fountain Board Charmer and Fuel Tank Feaster. Ideally Fountain Board Charmer, just casting this for Offspring on 3 reduces the cost of all the creatures in your hand by 2. Plays really nicely with like the Dragon Soul Prodigy, and it also reduces the Omen costs of all the dragons. With Dragon Soul Prodigy, how it works is if you cast the Omen, you still get the Omen effect, but it creates a copy for the turn of the dragon that you cast the Omen for onto the field with haste, and then you get rid of it at the end step. So it's very easy in this deck with reducing cost to have like 1 to 2 mana Coil and Catch that at instant speed you get a Meringue River Regent. You do it at your opponent's end step, you untap and you get the attack trigger. Same with like getting more value out of like Azure Scale, stuff like that. This version's leveraging the Starfield Vocalist to double ETBs. Dreaddew Entrancer can tap down opponent stuff or your own to draw you some cards. You have Fecund Green Shell. Most of your things are bigger toughness in the deck, or just allow you to kind of ramp and give an anthem. The Stonehide Ancient is a bounce for kind of cyclonic-ish rift or upheaval for all non-dragons. And then Twin Maw Stormbrood is removal in the deck. Can also gain you some life. And then lastly, this is a mono green deck from Thran's Yawgmoth. They went 25 and 8 with the deck, and they came into Mythic. Came in at about 8-ish or 950, and then kind of traded some losses here and there, but overall been doing pretty well. So this is a kind of counters Stompy list. So you have access to Ouroboros that puts counters, Warden that puts counters, and Endures to make you tokens. Scrap Shooter can deal with artifacts, enchantments. Frenzied Baloth as another creature just with trample, haste, and kind of push through a bunch of damage. Someone's playing Valley Might Caller. Not a huge amount of ways to naturally trigger it in the sense of like the Rabbits deck where everything triggers it, but you have Paw Patches, you have the Scrap Shooters, and more copies of itself, but just naturally counters being put on it. This having trample really takes advantage of the extra counters. Hardened Bonds lets you seek a creature whenever a 1/1 counter is put onto them once per turn. You have Primal Might as a fight spell and pump, and then Snakeskin Veil for protection. So that's pretty much it for the week. Not a huge volume of decks, but give you an idea of what's happening in the format. As always, like I said, if you enjoy this content, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.